Welcome back to the Praxis Practice Test Review. And in this lecture we're going to talk about legal cases that affect ELL teaching. Again, my name is Hyacinth and I'm your host. No Child Left Behind is a major law states that affect school children in the United States and Title 9 Part of Section 9101 identifies ELL students who study as bilingual students and shows limited proficiency in one of the four main skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Title 1 and 3 of No Child Left Behind are the most important. It says that all children must have proficiency testing annually in grades K through 12 during their first year of enrollment in U.S. schools. Proficiency testing. Under Title 1, districts must test oral, language, reading and writing. A test must be done orally, reading and writing in English each year. Title 3 defines proficiency as comprehension, speaking, listening, reading and writing skills. Title 3 also defines an annual measurable achievements objectives that include testing in English language proficiency, ELP. Achievement testing. States, districts, and schools must report on the ELL subgroup for their annual yearly progress report. And the ELLs are tested in math starting in their first round of state exams after the student enters school. ELLs are tested in reading that year or the following year of enrollment. ELLs may take state reading and language art tests in their native language for the first 3 years. Some may receive waivers for 1 or 2 additional years. NCLB does not set limits on science and math tests. There is no set standards for math or science and their scores will continue for 2 years. ELLs who have exited the subgroup may continue to be counted with ELL scores for 2 years. The most common way states include ELLs in large-scale testing is through regular state tests with accommodations. At least 8 states continue providing tests for some grades or subjects in Spanish. And some states, especially in southern states in the southwest states, will continue provide test scores in Spanish. In recent developments, the LEP Partnership is an ED initiative to help states make content assessments more accessible and appropriate for ELLs, July 2006. A Title I regulation announced in September of 2006 relates to ELLs who have attended U.S. schools for 12 months or less. According to this regulation, states can exempt ELLs from one administration of the Reading Language Arts test. States must include ELLs in math testing, and in science, in 2007 to 2008. States are also not required to count these reading, math, and science scores in the annual yearly progress reports. States can include former ELL students at a subgroup for 2 years in the AYP reporting. And if you want to know more, Google what research says about English language learners at a glance. What NCLB says about ELL students. This will be on the Center for Public Education.org site. The website will tell you more about the No Child Left Behind Act and any updates. The first legal case is Castaneda versus Picard. In 1981, the Fifth Circuit Court issued a decision that established a 3-part test for schools to evaluate the adequacy of the district's program for ELL students. It says the program must be based on an educational theory recognized as legitimate experimental strategy. So a teacher or school district cannot say that they want to try an unproven theory because they think it might work. In order for them to use a theory that might work, they have to show the theory works or is recognized. They must be able to follow through on that theory with resources and personnel reasonably calculated to implement this theory effectively. And if the school district evaluates programs to make sure that the program works, the theory works, and they need to make adjustments where needed to ensure language barriers can be overcome. La versus Nichols. 1974. A civil rights case brought by Chinese American students living in San Francisco. The students claimed that they were not receiving special help in school due to their inability to speak English. Basically, these children were thrown into classrooms where they did not speak any English and told that they had to be able to pass that class. In 1974, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the students, thus expanding the rights of students nationwide with limited English proficiency. Any students that could not speak English needs a specialist, and the Supreme Court decided that a student's language ability is actually part of their culture national origin, and that language-based discrimination is effectively a proxy for national origin discrimination. Plessy vs. Ferguson and Brown Board of Education. These are different lawsuits, but they are intertwined. In 1896, the Supreme Court ruled its infamous decision that students could be separate, but equal, in schools was constitutional. Not only were African American children discriminated, so were children of Asian, Latin American, and Native Americans. In Brown vs. Board of Education, the Supreme Court reversed the earlier decision in Plessy v. Ferguson 58 years later in 1954. You can bring students into a program where all students are Spanish speakers and teach the class in Spanish as long as they're trying to learn English sometime during the school day. In 1981, from the United States versus Texas, which includes mandates that affect all Texas schools, the court ordered the school districts to create a plan and to implement language programs would help Mexican American students learn English and to adjust to American culture, and while helping non-native Spanish speakers learn to speak Spanish. The court heard testimony from José Cardenas and his theory of incompatibilities, which blames the educational failures of students on the inadequacies of school programs rather than on the students themselves. For more information, search Cardenas and Cardenas 1977. Cerna vs. Portoles in 1974 was one of the first cases to raise the issue of bilingual education outside the context of bilingual education, Del Valle 2003. The case dealt with a white majority school in New Mexico that failed to meet the requirements of Latino students. Under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, as it prohibits discrimination on basis of color, race, or national origin in any program that receives federal funding. The court ruled that the school district's programs did not meet the needs of the Spanish-speaking students and were inadequate. The court stated that it was incumbent on the school district to reassess and enlarge its program directed to the specialized needs of the Spanish surnamed students, and to create bilingual programs at other schools where they are needed. It was appealed to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and in 1974, like Lau vs. the court made it clear that schools cannot ignore the unique language and educational needs of ELL students. One thing that actually came out with these lawsuits is sink or swim. It is illegal for you to put an ELL student into a classroom and not give them any support at all and then fail them because they do not understand English. Refer to these lawsuits and learn more about them, as the laws have stated that you need to have recognized theory to use in a classroom. You need to be able to ensure that the students get equal rights, equal share or opportunity to study and be able to graduate like any other student. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much.